we're winging it.
So
This is the first time back, and I'm not very good at following directions.
It's quite all right. Everybody can hear me okay?
Yeah.
With headphones on, you don't get to see my new earrings.
Yeah.
What was the point in that?
Right. See?
What a great, topic, Squatching 101. We already did a show on that.
Okay.
Wanted to get the Cliff Notes version real quick.
Oh, yeah.
It was here. Why didn't you say something?
I don't even have a copy of it in front of me.
At least Nathan does.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Talking about the book. There it is.
Yeah.
And, after these important messages, just to
From
start
our sponsors.
advertising.
That's right.
Like almost every episode we mentioned, and Kimbrough Audio.
Thanks, guys.
You're the unofficial sponsor of Squatch.
That's right.
I love it.
I have a prototype here that I want to show you. And I don't know how well you're going to be able to see it, but this is the first one we made. Our lights.
Okay.
It's for ghost hunting mainly.
Okay.
But yeah, I put your microphones in there.
Oh, cool.
We 3D printed the whole thing. Those are the brightest LED IR lights I could find.
I love tinkering and just building things like that. Like you saw with my whole cat deterrent out front. Have you seen the video that I've been sharing? Of
Yes. I love that. That he jumps about 6 foot in the air. Nice. So you learned something new again. I love it.
And we can start doing that. We can actually insert advertisements. You know what I mean?
That's cool.
We're going to make one up for Health Haven.
Brian said sorry for not being here. He just texted. He said thanks for doing this, Charles, and sorry he couldn't be here.
Sure. We haven't met.
Yeah.
You sound fine. You look fine.
It
I love
doesn't
the
seem
shirt.
too dark.
Love the shirt, by the way. That's
Thank
awesome.
you. Thank you. I haven't worn this one yet. All right. Here we go.
You're listening to Squatch Talks Podcast. Real stories and real encounters told by real researchers. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Welcome back to Squatch Talks Podcast. And exciting start to season 2. I'm Eric, and Nathan Moyer is here co-hosting with me tonight. Brian, unfortunately, won't be joining us, but hopefully will be back with us next week. And tonight, though, we have a special guest on with us, Charles Kimbrough, who, if you're in the squatching community, you probably have heard of. We've talked about him a number of times in season 1, right, Nathan?
Yep, one of our favorite topics.
Yes, indeed.
Kimbrough Audio.
Kimbrough Audio. Kimbrough
I love that. Keep it up. I love that. I love
It's
that.
yeah.
Don't worry, we'll plug you 5 more times before this show's over. Because you know what? I mean, honestly, how much stuff have we captured using Kimbrough Audio? I mean, seriously.
Yeah.
It's crazy. The amount of audio files we have, hours and hours.
Oh,
Wow.
two LDRs, and every one of us has at least 2 different rigs with your mics on them. So
I was going to say it for later, but I got LDR hanging right here.
I love it. It's not supposed to be there. It's supposed to be in the field.
Yeah, I know. The problem is the recorder that goes inside of it cost me a few bucks. I don't like just leaving it out indiscriminately, you know. I'm in Joyzy. Okay.
Yeah, the trees are a lot shorter down there. It's harder to hide them.
Yeah, we call them pygmy pines. Actually, they're pygmy pines, but
Yeah.
no, I won't leave them in that area for sure. Anyway, now getting back, we are excited to start season 2. Right? We had a great first season. Getting started, getting our feet wet, and our
It was a lot of fun. Had a lot of help.
Exactly.
Sticking with our theme of real researchers and real stories.
That's it.
So,
and hey, we did have 18 episodes roughly in the first season, so we kind of went through most of our stories. Okay,
all our good ones anyway.
At least the ones you probably want to sit through. Exactly.
Yeah,
we got more stories, but we figured having some other people.
There's a lot of stories that you have. You have a lot of stories that only the other Squatchers would appreciate because there's no action. It's just a bunch of us hanging out, having a good time, you know.
Right. Well, Charles can relate with that. He's done his he's had his boots on the ground experience, right? He's sitting that background is one of his areas that he's recently been to, actually. So we won't disclose exact locations.
Makes me want to do a wood knock.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
It does. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, Charles, or as
All
much
right,
as
sure.
you want us to know?
All right. Well, I work for a company, Control Technologies. We are the FLIR reps in the traffic industry nationwide. So I'm the technical support manager. So I get my hands dirty in the field, installing thermals. I work with thermal cameras nearly every day. So I get to see the ins and outs of what these things are capable of doing and the algorithms that are put into them for detecting vehicles and stuff. So I use a lot of what I've learned at work in my hobby, and it makes it nice. You know, it's kind of the field of squatching. You know, there's a lot of same gadgets that we use in traffic we use in squatching. So it's kind of a nice little hand-in-hand thing that I have going on there. And so
Plus, if any of the locals get close and you have your squatch stick, you might have to whack them away, you know?
it's usually in the truck. So yeah, exactly.
That's
Some of the
awesome.
places you get to go are not the friendliest.
Yeah. I've been working for this company now for 21 years, doing the traffic related technical support stuff with my customers are cities and DOT agencies. So I work with a lot of government agencies, even a lot of military bases, a lot of government facilities,
Oh, cool.
and such.
No, that just came to my mind though, because you do work amongst all these, LEOs and other government officials. I was just curious if you've had anybody ever come up and say that they had some type of experience with our shy forest creatures.
Not usually, and the reason for that is because the people who have had experiences are not allowed to talk about it.
Sure.
I was on a military base over in Eastern Virginia. I won't say which one, but I was working with the guy that was he was in charge of the maintenance division for the whole facility at the whole base, and they have on these military bases, they actually have traffic signals. So they're like little cities or towns of their own.
Right.
And so I knew the history of the base that we were working on, that there's been a lot of sightings on the base. There's been a lot of stories, and I mentioned it to the guy that I was working with just casually. I'm like, so I hear there's a lot of Bigfoot activity here on the base. And he didn't reply. The guy ignored the whole comment. And then we just kept working. And a few minutes later, I asked it again, like, as if maybe he didn't hear me the first time.
Mhm.
And he spoke up that time and he said, I'm not allowed to talk about that. That's his exact words. So
Wow.
How much more proof do you need right there?
Exactly.
I would have said off the record though.
We try. I mean, that was about as much effort as I felt like I could possibly put into it and not jeopardize things for work.
Yeah,
I still have to keep
and you
that
got a
going.
response, which is kind
Yeah.
of incriminating in itself. But
Exactly.
I just heard a story. There was some guy walking in the Pentagon, right? And it was on one of these shows, I forget. And he was in the Pentagon building and he walked past a sign that said Bigfoot research. His claim. Pretty exciting though. I mean, and I was privileged enough to attend Nathan's expedition last year, and we got to have a presentation by you, which was impressive, with how to build an LDR, right?
Oh,
Right.
yes. Thank you.
And that was great to learn firsthand from the expert and to witness how it's done. I've only been able to use them out in the field on the end result, so I brought one along with me tonight. And this sucker's been out in the field a few times, right, Nathan? And has captured some pretty amazing sounds, which I'm going to have to send another audio file to Monongahela to analyze. But yeah, this has been around a while, so it's been out and actually has been dropped and needed repair. Charles was kind enough
Wasn't that the first one you sold?
I think so.
Yeah, this isn't really something that I sell. You've contacted me a couple of times and said, "Hey, you mind building one of these?" And I'm like, "Yeah, well, that's fine." I show them to people and tell them how to build them, but
Yeah.
if they don't want to build them and they want to pay for it, I guess, yeah, I'll build one.
Sure. Well, we appreciate it. So the cord is
We
in
have
here,
two.
attached to Kimbrough audio microphones. And then I have to put my LDR. I use the Zoom H2N, and I usually record with that one inside here. I have to set it to accept the external microphone, of course. I made that mistake the first time, and I didn't do that. So
do you
nothing was
use an
recorded.
external battery pack as well, or
I
what do you do?
I don't at this point.
We're getting there.
We're getting
Okay.
to that.
Yep.
But yeah, I'm thinking that maybe I'm going to change and start using the Olympus one, because I think this one will actually accept an external power source.
I've not tried that. What I've done is I use D-cell batteries. We'll take like one of those plastic sleds that holds 2 D-cell batteries, and we will wire it up to that Olympus microphone, that recorder that you have there, and use 2 external D-cell batteries instead of the internal batteries. And we're getting about 35 to 40 nights of recording with 2 D-cell batteries,
which is great.
That's unbelievable. Yeah, it makes it so that you don't have to go out to your research area often.
So this one can be actually set to record at specific intervals, you know what I mean, as opposed to the Zoom, which I don't believe has that feature.
It does not.
So this will be, I think, going to be my one that's going to be the now preferred digital recorder of choice.
Yeah, there's only a couple companies that makes them with a internal timer. Olympus makes a couple. The 610 and I think it's the 610 and the 710. I think that's numbers. I don't mine are out in the field, so I don't have them here. And then Tascam makes they make some. Actually, no, this is
the Tascam still make them with the timers.
Tascam doesn't make them anymore. Tascam does make some, but the ones that they make do not have timers. The DR3 and the DR8.
I have an 8 here somewhere.
Okay. Yeah, those both have internal timers. The problem with the Tascam, and that was the first one that we found that had an internal timer. The problem with it is it's a real battery hog. That thing sucks down the batteries. I mean, if you put fresh batteries in just the recorder, you might get 4 hours out of it. I mean, it's that bad. But
add on cold weather, it's even shorter, probably.
Exactly. Yeah. So what I was doing in the wintertime, they were also very temperature. Very temperature finicky. It's like in the cold weather, sometimes the thing wouldn't even turn on. Whenever the timer comes along. So I would take one of those. I don't think I have. Is that one? Yeah, here's one. This is an insulated bag like you use for your outside spigots, and you put it over your outside faucet, and you pull the little cord, and it actually is an insulated bag. So I would put my recorder and battery pack inside of that and then shove it up inside the LDR, and that helps protect it from the outside cold a little bit. And when I started doing that, I stopped having all those little finicky temperature related problems.
That's good to know. That's
good things coming up.
I do something like I have a little, this is a little wet box. Just a, it's little, you open the clips and it opens up. Well, I've taken a couple of my mics and put them in the bottom of this and just put a regular Sony recorder in here that does not have any timer or anything. And I'll take this thing with me when I go on hikes, and I will leave this thing near the vehicle, or within a couple hundred yards of the vehicle after I get to hiking, and just hang it in a tree, and it's working by just the battery and the recorder, but it gets me my external mics, and if it rains, then it's going to stay dry.
Protected.
So yeah,
that's a neat idea. And that's using your microphones. Is that the silver mics or the gold?
These are probably silvers. Silvers work fantastic as well.
Yeah, I do find that. Most of my material has been on the silvers, honestly.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, the
we do
golds.
have- we do have a set of the gold ones now. Also, these we use the selfie stick method that Kevin Romero taught me, and
Yeah, there you go.
yeah, I just have them clipped on, and the cord's long enough to coil down the stick down to the digital
Nice.
recorder. You know what I mean? And I have it in a vape
That's-
stock.
I love it. I love it. Thinking outside the box. I mean, that's
Mhm.
what this is all about. I mean, I'm tired of doing the same old stuff over and over again and getting the same results, very little.
Right.
I
Right.
love thinking outside the box, and that little stick you have there is fantastic.
And the other thing is,
It gets him high enough away from all the
Yeah.
not all the feet shuffling, but a lot of it.
Right.
plus I hook up my headphones to the other, jack, and it's like a bionic ear at the same time
Yes.
too.
That's awesome.
Mhm.
The
I
only-
love that.
The only problem is like the directional aspect. So like because I'm holding it up like this and I'm listening through the headphones, I can't tell the direction
No.
that the knock or the owl or whatever it may
Right.
be came
Right.
from, So then I
Right.
have to say what direction, because
Yes.
I can aim it. Now on
Yes.
the other one with the silver mics, I have them aimed one this way and one this way, so they're
Okay.
opposite. So it's like a 360 kind of, right?
Right.
They pick up 360.
Yeah, they're omnidirectional mics, so
Right.
they'll
Mhm.
pick up from any direction.
Yeah. So on the gold ones though, I have them both facing like out.
Okay, yeah.
And that way I just walk along. Nathan says this isn't really made to be used on a like a outing, you know what I mean? But we'll walk through the trails at night. And
Yeah.
I'll just hold this and
Yeah.
I can move it around. And then if it's like, it's almost like a parabolic almost, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like I can
Just-
aim it
just-
right at the source.
Just don't squatch in lightning.
Just don't
Yeah.
we have.
Yeah.
That doesn't scare us.
We're above that.
That's right.
Sure.
Yeah. So with us, we're like I was mentioning, we're just kind of tired of doing the same stuff and
Mhm.
getting the same results. So a few of us have gotten together and put our heads together and thought, what can we do differently? We want to get some new knowledge of what's happening when we're out there. So Larry Sidwell and I, we talked about it, like let's get some more electronics. We need to carry more electronics with us on the trails, like EMF meters. I don't know much about that sort of stuff. I don't ghost hunt or anything, but what if there's something else happening while we're out here squatching at night? We're carrying
Told ya.
lightning. We're carrying lightning detectors now.
Mhm.
Because what if zapping isn't really infrasound? What if it is an electrical charge
Yeah.
of some
Right.
sort? So Larry was actually sitting in Kentucky. We were a couple months ago. We were in Eastern Kentucky, and his lightning detector went off a couple of times on a clear night while he was sitting squatching at night.
Nice.
So we may be onto something.
Mhm.
I was somewhere else. I was a couple miles away. I really went on a long hike that night, but no, he actually got his lightning detector went off, I think 2 or 3 times that
Wow.
night, and it was a
Well,
clear night.
Nathan and Brian and I we did a remote campsite in the New Jersey Pine Barrens last month. And we did a night, instead of going out intentionally like squatching, we had Nathan's brother-in-law join us and a couple of other friends of ours who were into the paranormal end of it, right? And we had like a really cool, we did an Estes session, right? Estes method, I
Yeah.
think it's called. And
Right.
using
With the
blindfold
headphones
and the headphones hooked up to a ghost box, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Interesting results too, I have to say. We could probably do a whole show just on the audio alone,
Right.
Actually, while Chris was doing her Estes session, we had to stop her because we heard a howl come from the bog
Oh, that's right.
at her like 5 o'clock. Yeah. And we actually had to stop her from doing the session so we could get it recorded. And I had the LDR hanging up and I had the stick mic going. So we definitely got it. But yeah.
We've been
so-
trying a lot of different things too, like that though. But right before we got a howl, we tried using tone generators and singing bowls.
frequency too. Yeah.
Yeah,
the
the different
frequency.
frequencies and stuff. And right after we played the singing bowl, we had a howl. So that was pretty cool.
Mhm.
Hmm.
But three of us, I think, three or four of us did the Estes thing with the blindfold. Nathan was great. I tell you, he had some fun stuff coming out of his box. But interesting stuff. Again, I'm the Renee of the bunch. I'm the flesh and blood guy. So I keep telling
Right.
these other guys that I'm going to keep them honest and then look for the explanation.
That's right.
It's
There's got to
tough.
be an explanation.
It's a tough camp to be in because it seems like the longer you do this, the more you start leaning towards that
Something different.
direction. Yeah. I mean, the longer you do it, the more questions I have and the fewer answers. It just
Yep.
starts to boggle your mind after a while. I guess
Things that make you say,
I've been doing this with I've been doing this with the BFRO for about 10 years now, and I tried it a couple of years before joining the BFRO, and it was, I don't know, I didn't really know much about what I was trying to accomplish early on. It wasn't until I started attending a bunch of BFRO expeditions before I actually kind of started catching on to what we're trying to do here. And but thinking outside the box and keeping an open mind, it's difficult to come up with the next big thing. Like,
Right.
What are we going to try to do next? I mean, it's just, I don't know. Like I have a thermal mounted to a pan tilt bracket that I can magnetically stick on top of my vehicle and drive around with a laptop, and pan around while we're driving. So it's difficult to come up with something else to try.
It's sort of a mini R2D2.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And from everything that I've read, about probably 90%. I mean, that's just a number that I can't verify, but probably 90% of the sightings are road crossings.
Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely. So, that I think having a thermal mounted outside of your vehicle, and gives you a leg up to having one of those possible sightings.
And a dash cam.
I agree. And now I have a dash cam GoPro mounted, of course, when I'm out there and coming home. But I have to say, I've seen some of the footage, and yeah, it's usually pretty clear during the day. But at night, I'm worried that even with the way it's so fast, that it would blur. You know what I mean?
But you still have to have that video footage, because who is going to believe that a guy out looking for Bigfoot had one run across the road in front of him?
On the way home.
On the way home for looking for Bigfoot.
Right.
It's not going to happen.
On St. Patty's Day.
Yeah. That's like Tyler Bounds actually hitting one while driving the finding Bigfoot vehicle going to the next recording site. Is that possible?
And that's the thing. I avoided hitting it. You know what I mean? I didn't want to clip it. And now, of course, I kick myself that, you would have some pretty decent DNA if you would have just clipped it,
Right.
But no, it's so quick, though. That's the thing. Like a road crossing, if they are moving like this one was, it's so fast. I'm afraid it would just be blurry anyway. And then everybody would be like, oh, yeah, it's a deer. It's blurry, But anyway, I want to come back and talk about your book after a short break. Hopefully, we have more sponsors come on board, and want to take advantage of tuning into our listeners. So we'll be right back. Thanks for tuning in. And we are back on Squatch Talks Podcast, Season 2, with special guest Charles Kimbrough. And he is actually, I think we haven't even mentioned at this point, an author, right, of Squatching 101.
Everybody see that?
Everything you need to know is right in this book, how to get started,
That's right.
Even how to maybe get into the, just going out and doing a little bit of this research, either on your own or maybe hopping on an expedition through the BFRO or some other organization near you. But it's got everything you can possibly want to know. So pick that up at Amazon or on Kindle.
You can get it on Amazon, but they have it at Expedition Bigfoot Museum in Blue Ridge, Georgia.
That's what
David Becerra.
David Becerra, right.
And Lori Wade, she has them at her Bigfoot and Me booth at most of the major Bigfoot conferences. So stop by and see her.
Yeah, there you go.
And we'll have to have it at our Squatch Talks booth when we get one.
Yeah, that's right. We have to have Lori on here too. She's just one of the most wonderful people. I'd love to have her.
We're not finished with Charles yet.
I know, but I'm just saying. So anyway, buy the book.
You want to tell us a little bit
Monongahela.
about it? When did you write it, Charles?
I finished the book. It went on Amazon February 2019,
Okay.
and it took me, gosh, it's a subject that I could have made this book massive. The hard part was keeping it small, because I wanted it to be used more as a field reference guide, something you could stick down in your backpack and pull out. If you're hiking, you can pull out to use as a reference guide. So I tried to keep it small, and that was tough to do. So I think I did as good as I could. But I don't claim to be, a professional at Bigfooting or anything like that. There is no professionals,
There are
no
no
experts.
experts
For sure.
No.
Right.
But what I wanted this book to be was, when I first got into Bigfooting, and I can remember preparing to go to my first BFRO expedition. I was really nervous. I was going by myself. I didn't even have any friends going with me. I was going by myself, and I didn't know anyone, and I didn't know how to prepare for it. What did I need? What did I need to know? And there was nothing out there that you could read to prepare yourself for an expedition like that. So I thought there is a need for that. And so that was kind of what I was keeping in mind when I was writing this book, just what people need to know to be ready for that first expedition. What are they going to encounter? What are they looking for? What do they do when they find something? Whether it's footprints, how to cast a footprint, audio recordings.
Right.
What do you do with an audio recording once you capture something? How do you analyze it? So there's a very good friend of mine. He goes by Monongahela. He's in the book. He wrote that chapter for me on Audacity. Audacity is the software. It's the free online software that most of us Bigfooters use to analyze our audio with. And there's different procedures that you do to clean up your audio, to cut your audio, because you may have a 9-hour clip. You don't want the whole 9-hour clip. You just want the section that you have captured something, but you don't want to sit down and listen to 9 hours of audio. So we actually look at our audio. And I know that sounds funny, but we actually put it into a spectrogram, and we view the audio file itself, and we look for certain signatures. And there you go. Nathan is showing what some of the audio files would look like.
Yep.
And so you can actually go through, if you have 9 hours of audio and you have a decent computer, I can go through 9 hours of audio. If there's nothing there, I can go through it in about 10 minutes and pull out any signature audio that we may have captured.
Another thing to keep in mind, if you are actually with the equipment out there in the field doing the recording, is if you do feel like, I always do a timestamp when I start the recording, right? Date and time, okay? Weather conditions. That's how I start an audio recording. But if I am using it like the stick, right? The Kimbrough audio mic stick, or the just a LDR or microphone on the roof of my truck, whatever the case is, I always do a timestamp to start out. And then if something happens, I'll make note. I'll be like, 12:35 wood knock, or on the recording. That way I can also reference it. You know what I mean? As I'm reviewing.
If I capture something, mine are on my shoulders of my backpack, one on each shoulder. Yeah. And so if I capture something and I want to make sure that I can find it, because it may be very faint, I'll reach up and I'll tap my mic, and you can see that in the audio file.
Yeah. I must have heard something.
That's not as bad as the coyote that I captured once. It came underneath of my LDR, and literally it was right under my recorder, and this thing let loose with a howl.
Oh yeah.
And I was listening to it when it happened on my recording, and I just happened to listening to some of it, and I thought I went deaf. It was so loud. It was awful.
Well, I did that with one of my calls too. So
I like you have a lot of pictures in here. I never liked tree structures. I was never a fan of anything that had to do with trees, because it's so easy for other people to do. A lot of them are, but you have some pretty impressive pictures in here of tree twists and
Mhm.
and the upside down trees and what real tree structures look like.
Yeah,
Not some of these things that people are bringing up.
Yeah,
That's not tree structure.
I know it's got to really impress me
Mhm.
Yeah.
for me to say, oh yes, that's a tree structure. A
Mhm.
couple of limbs fall together and make an X.
Right.
You look through the woods and I can see 100 of those from one position. But there's some pictures in there of some tree structures, like I think it was 7 or 8 in one little area. And I mentioned that my cousin had taken those photos, and that's actually on a government facility's property. Yeah, and yeah, that was actually
You name the state.
in federal government. That was a federal government facility,
Okay.
and he was there for some federal training. He works for I don't know if I even said, I don't remember if I said in the book, but anyway, he was
It's
there for some.
restricted.
Yeah, he does surveying for the federal
Okay.
government.
I
And
remember this story.
yeah, and he went for a walk while he was on the facility for some training. He worked in the private industry for years and then went to work for the federal government doing the same thing, but they have to put him through a certain training course right after all the new people come on board. And he went for a walk, and about, I think it was a quarter mile or something behind the training center, right along the Potomac River, these tree structures were there. And he's just kind of stumbled across them, and they had caution tape around them to where it was taped off. So they had found them and they were studying them on the property.
Yeah, there you
Cool.
go.
Yeah,
Again, how much more proof do we need?
exactly.
Right.
And yeah, and this was the federal property is north of Charlestown, West Virginia. So it's up
Okay.
near Western Maryland
It's in
area.
that area, yeah. That's really, I have to say, that's an active area with Eastern
It is.
Ohio, right? And
Yeah.
Pennsylvania. actually.
Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
That's
There's a lot of
where
reports.
that's kind of the direction I start heading usually.
Mhm,
Yep.
mhm.
It's probably on that map behind Nate.
Yeah.
It is.
There's a bunch of pins in there. You
So go
can't
ahead,
see
Nathan.
them, but I want to, and you might not like this story choice, but I kind of would like you to tell that story when you were with Goodrin, sitting in the car, watching that thing light up the guardrail.
Yeah, that was the first time I'd ever witnessed eye shine. So so there's two different things. A lot of people don't necessarily believe it exists until they see it with their own eyes. And I was a skeptic as well. I'm like, I don't know how these things could possibly, these things have the ability to internally illuminate their eyes. And so there's two different ways. There's eye glow, when they just illuminate their eyes enough that you can see the eyes. And then there's eye shine, where it's so bright that it's actually emitted from their eyes and cast like a beam, almost like a flashlight.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen both. I've seen eye glow, gosh, I don't know, maybe a dozen times. But eye shine, I have seen 1, 2, 3, 4 times I've seen eye shine since I've been doing research. And the first time I'd ever seen it, I was with a friend of mine. Her name is Goodwin, and she lives in Western Virginia, but close to West Virginia, like me, but on up north, close to Winchester. And but she lived in Pentagon City, just outside of the Pentagon in Northern Virginia, Arlington. And so when I would go up to do a job, a lot of times I will call Goodwin and say, hey, I'm in town. You want to go squatching tonight? And so if she's not busy, then we'll meet up and we'll go someplace and go squatching. And one night we did, and we went to this really cool place. I think Nate's been there. Didn't you go? Okay.
Yep.
So yeah, sorry, we did an expedition there at one time.
Mm-hmm.
And really creepy place. There's no houses anywhere near where we were. And we drove down in her Land Cruiser, and we were on this big loop road that follows the, I don't know if it's the Potomac, or I'm not sure what river that is. It's actually starts out as the bay and goes up towards DC. We were just off of the river, and this big loop road comes down and around this big peninsula that sticks out towards the river. And we drove down, and we backed in off of the road in this really dark area. We backed in to where the back of her Land Cruiser was facing away from the road. The nose was almost touching the road of her Land Cruiser, of the road. And we sat there, we had our windows down, we had the sunroof open. She had her recorder sitting in the sunroof. And we were sitting there just sticking our thermals out the window while we were just kind of watching and just listening. And all of a sudden, a rock got thrown and it hit the guardrail in front of her Land Cruiser. And it was super loud. I mean, it went bang. And I mean, we jumped. It was so loud. So it was definitely a rock. And she said, "They're here." So it's almost like she was expecting that. It's like, they're here. And then just less than a minute later, across the guardrail, right across the guardrail from where the rock hit, I started seeing this light. And it was side profile, like if you or me, and it was like this to the side. This light came on, and it came on like this. It was like a wide angle, I don't know, like a beam. It came on for about a second and a half, and then it went off. And then it came back on for about a second and a half, and it went off. It did that 3 times. It was so bright that I could see the silhouette of all the trees that were between this thing and me. And I was only about maybe 40 feet, 30 or 40 feet from it. Because it was a 1-lane road. I mean, it was 2 lane. There was no lane markings on the road. So that's how narrow it was. And we were just across the road from it. It was just on the other side of the guardrail. So it was very close to us. But it came on the 3rd time. And when that light came on, it turned at me and hit me in the eyes and then went off. And so it was super bright. I mean, when it hit me in the eye, it looked like a pin light was hitting me in the eye. And
Really?
then it went off. Yeah. And that was the first time I'd ever witnessed that. I didn't see anything other than the light. I have to believe that it was Bigfoot related because a rock had just gotten thrown at the guardrail. So I don't really have any answers. This is where it comes down to, I have more questions than I have answers. I mean, I go out and I experience a lot of this stuff,
Right.
but I don't necessarily know always what to interpret from what I've witnessed. I don't really know what I witnessed sometimes.
It was a white light, you're saying?
This one was a white light, yes.
Mhm. But when you say it like was aimed directly at you, did it look?
Yes.
Did it appear to be like a headlamp, like a bright headlamp?
It actually, at first, when it first came on, it was like a wide angle beam, like, like it was really illuminating everything, but in one direction.
Right.
And then it went off, and then it came on again, same way. And it was only one light, like it was sideways, like maybe I was seeing one eye. But then when it came on the 3rd time, it turned, and then it went from like a wide beam into a narrow beam and hit me in the eyes, and then it went off. Okay. So
almost like it concentrated when it came to look at you. It concentrated on you.
On me, yes.
Yeah.
I had a single light in PA.
Oh, yeah.
Nathan's expedition, where I looked to my left, and this was as part of a zapping portion of the evening. But I saw what looked to be a headlamp just about 10, 15 feet away across the trail from me, about 8 feet up in the air. And it was a single bright light. And I had never seen anything like that before. And I'm going like this to see if it's a plane or a star or the moon or whatever, coming through the trees, right? And I'm thinking it might be a trail runner because the Appalachian wasn't too far from where we were, wasn't moving. It just was stationary. And this was for about 10, 15 seconds. And then it just sunk down slowly and extinguished. And at that point, I was like, wow, Isn't
it funny? Isn't it funny how your mind runs all of these other possibilities through? and because the last time that I've seen eye shine, I thought it was a trail runner because it was on the road, it was on the trail that we were on.
Right.
And I thought it was somebody running at night on the trail. And so same thing went through my mind. I mean, I told the other guys that was with me, I said, guys, here comes a trail runner. Everyone turn your headlamps off.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Well, and I turned to the two guys that were with me and I said, hey, did you see something? Right. And that's when one of them expressed how he was sitting there because he got zapped and had pressure on his forehead, you know?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
Jeff
he said it.
and I
He said it pushed
felt it in
him.
the gut. Yeah, it felt like two fingers pressing right between his eyes, and it
Right.
Oh,
to the
wow.
point where it literally caused him to have to sit down. You know,
I haven't witnessed that, and I hope I don't. But
Yeah. Well, he was the biggest guy in the group too, and I think that's
Oh.
why it put him down, and
Yeah.
then it just made the other two guys feel crappy.
right,
It actually set him down. Like, nope, I'm bigger than you. You know?
that makes sense.
Yeah.
and we had some other things on that portion of our evening out after we got the initial howls recorded. But there was some time variance. There was some paranormal kind of things happening with the cold temperature changes and
Oh, wow.
wind and, you know, weird sounds. So yeah, it was an interesting last night on Nathan's expedition.
Yeah. That's kind of why we started developing Trace too, to give other investigators like you, Charles, a place to say, look, I don't know if it's Bigfoot related or not, but maybe if we get enough of that information together, we can say it's either, yes, it is Bigfoot related, or maybe we're all seeing something else at the same time. You know, maybe the Bigfoot threw the rock at you to get your attention. Like, you don't want to deal with what that is. You know, that's not me, you know. It's
And
hard
for
to say.
anybody who's just joining us on this second season, first episode of Trace happens to stand for the Tri-State Researchers Association of Cryptid Encounters, and you can find them on Facebook at Trace, right?
Yep.
TRACE. So put a little plug out there. Shameful self-promotion. That's a really great story, Charles, and one that I can relate with. Having that happen with the headlamp thing, but
Yeah.
I'm happy to hear you say it was white and not red, you know, because I think when Nathan told me the story, for some reason it sounded like it was red, like a red beam of light.
I've seen red one time,
Okay.
but the three other times that I'd seen it was white.
Mhm.
And if this is the case, right, and this is an encounter you had with Bigfoot, then that would fall under the category of eye glow, not necessarily eye shine. Correct?
The four times that I witnessed this, it was eye shine. It was emitted. The eye glow I've seen about a dozen times, and that I've seen white, yellow, bluish green, red. That's just the internal illumination of the
I think
eyes.
it's a terminology thing, though, that I'm saying. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
What you're talking about,
hunters
Eric,
say eye
is
shine is just a reflection of
the reflection
of the light in an animal's eyes, and some animals have green reflection, yellow, orange.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Everything we're talking
Terminology,
about
so
is internal. That's a reflection. We're
Right.
talking about actual
projecting.
illumination of the
Yeah.
eye. Eye glow is just enough to see it glowing, and eye shine is when it's projected out.
I see.
Right,
Okay.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I don't even talk about, the reflection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see that all the time. Rabbits, deer.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Spiders, even you can see.
So
that.
yeah. But the dozen times that I saw the variable different colors, it was on dark locations,
Mhm.
heavy tree cover, no moonlight, no way that it was reflection, that it had to have been internally illuminated.
Wow.
And but the eye shines where it was actually emitted, I've seen white 3 times and I saw red 1 time.
And
That it actually emitted red.
It was emitting red. Yes. Once I think majority of these were in Kentucky. The red was once we had stopped to sit for a while, and something walked up the ravine down below us, and it was emitting a red light. And then it got within maybe 50 yards of us, and the light went off, and it couldn't have gone anywhere. It couldn't have if it was a person with a red headlamp on, they couldn't have gone anywhere without some form of light. Because we actually went down there a couple of minutes after the light went off. So we didn't see anyone down there, but it was definitely something emitting a red light.
Do you feel that they might have had some animosity towards you, and that's why there was the red hue?
I don't know.
Was it a fearful kind of situation, or just?
We don't know. It happened so quickly, and there was no sound related to it. They weren't like growling,
Growls, right?
anything. Yeah, no growling associated with it. It was just something walking up the ravine, emitting a red light. So,
yeah, we've seen red pinpoints, but I've never seen anything like you're describing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
the first time I saw eye glow, 2 red eye glow, I was with Greg Lambert in Kentucky. That was incredible.
Yeah.
That it would put me to my knees. It was like, I can't believe I'm seeing this.
It's enough to make you weak in the knees. You're right.
Yep.
And Goodwin actually said that she was sitting in her Land Cruiser once, and one came in behind it and actually was emitting a red light onto her back glass of her Land Cruiser while she's sitting behind the wheel one night. So yeah, there's a lot of people that are actually witnessing it, but not many people are talking about it, because it's one of those things that kind of makes you sound a little crazy.
Yeah.
I don't usually mention it to just everyone. That if I may talk Bigfoot to a lot of people, but I don't always mention eye shine or eye glow.
That's just jogging my memory though. Now, years ago, when I first got started doing this, and I was solo camping at one of our state forests, right, that had some activity reported. That's why I was there, and there was nobody around. It was like March, I think, right? There was nobody in camp for the whole campsite. I remember around 2:30, 3 in the morning, seeing some red eye glow in the woods beyond the tree line. Okay. And getting pretty freaked out from that. Now that you mention it. Yeah. And jumping into, I had an Oldsmobile at the time. I was using a car at that time still. I remember jumping into my car and calling a researcher out on the West Coast who I knew would still be up, because of the time difference.
It's funny, we witness so much. We've been doing this for so long. We witness so much. We tend to forget about a lot of the things that we've actually witnessed. And there's been so much that I've lost that I can't even remember, like, where did it happen? I can't remember where I was when this happened. I was with someone last fall, and I was with Monongahela, and he's like, "Oh, this is where that thing threw a rock at you." And I'm like, and growled at you. And I'm like, I don't even remember that anymore. I've lost that.
Yeah.
That's
I know, they all run together. You don't remember who was where, and so many of the same people were always at the same places when all the good stuff happened.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So
It's such a small group of us. I mean, even my East Coast Expeditions group, there's like 90 of us in the group, and probably 30 or 40 of us see each other on a regular basis.
Yeah.
That would lead me to my next question for you, Charles, but I want to take a short 30-second break for some advertising spots. So stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. Sit tight. We'll be right back. All right. And we're back at Squatch Talks podcast. And we're here with Charles Kimbrough, who is the author of Squatching 101 and also involved in the field through a few different groups, but also is the person we've been talking about throughout season 1 with the Kimbrough audio. So thanks to Charles for helping to contribute his expertise and some of his tactics that we've employed in the field that have, resulted in some great finds over the years. So it's great to have him on as our first guest for season 2. And you may have noticed Brian's not with us tonight, but he'll be back hopefully next week, feeling himself and raring to go. But we were just talking about East Coast Expeditions, which is one of the groups that Charles belongs to, or I may actually have founded. I don't even know. I don't want to do you a dishonor by belongs to. But anyway, you were saying it's kind of a smaller group, right?
Yeah.
And
So
how much time do you guys actually spend out in the field? Would you say that was the question I
we're
was
pretty
segueing to?
active. Yeah, we're pretty active. We have a group. It's called East Coast Expeditions. I co-founded it.
Okay.
The guy that was with me that started it is no longer with the group. He's gone on to other things, but it's we've tried to keep it fairly small, and it's by invite only, and we only have like experienced researchers in it because we're not in it to train newbies on
Mhm.
how to do this. This is just, we do that at a lot of the BFRO expeditions,
Right.
and there's only a couple. Usually, there's only a couple of BFRO expeditions that are within driving distance every year, and that just doesn't seem like enough time in the field. So we came up with East Coast Expeditions, and it's a small group. There's about 90 of us in it, and we're all either BFRO investigators or just experienced, seasoned Bigfoot researchers. But the ones that are in the group that are not BFRO have had to attend one of our expeditions as a special invite by another member. So that way they can come to our expedition and see what we expect from our members and how things are run. And then they can be invited in to be a member of the
Part of
group.
the group, yeah. And I want to thank
Yeah.
Nathan, of course, for inviting me along.
There you
I'm
go.
looking forward to coming out with you guys. I
Yeah.
don't know if Nathan told you or not, but he's got, on his new mobile command vehicle, his Squatch vehicle, he's got the sticker on the back window, right?
There you
Well,
go.
he just added an extra thing underneath it with different cryptids that his
Yeah.
daughter made. It looks really cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. But yeah, we end up, East Coast Expeditions usually ends up with 3 to 5 expeditions a year, usually just with our private group.
Nice.
And it's anywhere east of the Mississippi River. So and I'll usually host one in Virginia. Then we'll usually have 1 or 2 in West Virginia. It's kind of central to most of the members.
Mhm.
But the premise of the group is the members themselves, whoever it may be, hosts an expedition for the other members to come to in their research locations. So that way they get to get out on the road and travel and go do
Right.
some research in someone else's research area.
Wow.
It's nice too to get other eyes in your area sometimes, especially people that you trust, like East Coast Expeditions, because sometimes you literally can't see the forest for the trees. Sometimes, you're there all the time. You walk past one thing and somebody else be like, "Didn't you see this?"
Yeah, makes sense.
That's happened to me.
Different
already.
perspective.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Just
Yeah.
look at it from just a different angle. So
And the members are very trustworthy. That's
Yeah.
key. I don't just it's not a Facebook page. It's a secret Facebook page. It's hidden, so you can't find it. But Facebook is how we communicate.
Right.
But it's not one of those Facebook pages that just lets anyone and everyone in, and all they do is talk on the Facebook page. We're an active research group. We get together quite often and go out together. So we all know each other well. We trust each other, and that's key. If you're going to be out in the woods at night with people doing Bigfoot research, you want to be able to trust the folks that you're with.
No doubt.
And I draw my bravery from the group that I'm with, my small group. If I'm with a small group of people that are jumpy and they jump at every twig snap, I'm a nervous wreck by the end of the night.
Yeah.
So I like to be out there with people that are experienced and are brave and they don't show any sign of fear when they're out in the woods. I'll lead the group wherever, but I don't like being with people that are like, "Did you hear that? What is that? What was that?" That just drives me insane. So
he's a lot like me, Nathan.
Yeah.
We'll take the group out as far as we can go, and stay out as long as we can.
Yep.
Until we get the results.
That's right. I'm hoping to get there again. We're gonna get this training schedule down so I can get strong enough. But
good.
Absolutely.
Just saw the surgeon again today, so I didn't break anything when I fell. So all the hardware is good. It was just all muscles.
It takes a while to heal from that. That really takes a lot out of you.
Yeah, he told me at least a year. He said, "Don't try to do anything stupid for at least a year." So I have to calm down on my shenanigans.
Take all those good supplements provided by Health Haven too, and you'll get a little,
That's right.
little shortened recovery time, maybe 9 months, 6 to
That's
9
right.
months. I like to think so anyway.
I was well on my way until I was an idiot and fell down. So,
So Charles, your primary research area though is in your neck of the woods. How far is it do you have to go before you're, in the territory?
I live in Rockingham County, Virginia. So Rockingham County borders West Virginia. So we're right here in the Shenandoah Valley.
Yeah.
And we have, I have a cabin on the north end of the National Forest, and it borders the National Forest. And there's 1.5 million acres of National Forest behind my cabin. So it's like I could never, ever get through all of it if I ever tried. But it's nice having that much property to do Bigfoot research, but it's also a hindrance because these things don't stay in one spot. When you finally pinpoint where they may be one time, and then they move on, and then you got to find them again. And it's just, it's mind-boggling to try to find them. I can go out 20, 30 times in a row and not have any activity because I have 1.5 million acres of national forest that I need to find these things in. So, there's just not that many of them. I mean, gosh, I guess for them to be a breeding population, I'd have to estimate, I don't know, maybe it's just a guess, maybe 50,000 in North America of them. So, where are those 50,000? They could be anywhere.
Right.
So you're saying this is basically in your backyard though, right?
Yeah. I have
that's like me having the
forest all
Pine
around.
Barrens in my backyard. Okay. But literally, I mean, have you ever had any kind of habituation type activity? Have you tried anything like that?
I have not here. No. I have visited a couple of locations where people claim to have habituations, but when I get there, I never see anything. So it's I guess you have to be there at the right time to be able to witness what they've been witnessing. So yeah, like the picture behind me, I went squatching there Sunday night. This is here in Rockingham County, beautiful place. And I mean, it's really squatchy, but didn't really have any
there's
activity.
a squatch in those hills.
Yeah. I know there's coyote right there because I had some coyote howling at me while I was up there. But
nice. Well, that's definitely a beautiful area to go researching in, and
it is.
And Nathan's area that we were just in last year on expedition resembles that a great deal, so
yeah, not quite as beautiful. I don't know.
Your number,
as
though,
many pine trees.
Nathan, did you hear the number he just put out there? He said 50,000 to have like a breeding population, and there's all different opinions out there as to how many are out there. I mean, conservatively, I've heard 3,000 to 5,000. You know what I mean? So 50,000 is high up there, and that probably makes more sense, honestly, for all of America. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. If you've had sightings in every state in the country, and there's only 3,000, how are those going to find each other? To keep the population going? I just don't see it. There has to be more than that.
I agree. I'm just telling you that's what you hear often stated.
Yeah. I've heard all kinds of numbers, and it's all speculation. We don't have really any clue, but
no, but it makes sense if you think about it rationally. It's got to be that many, and to have the amount of different sightings in one state at one time, because like Pennsylvania, I mean, it's just huge in the middle. Yeah. There's sightings going on all the time.
And northwestern PA. I mean, let's face it, PA and Ohio alone have a great number of sighting reports, right? That aren't all posted on our database, of course, but even New Jersey, I mean, there's thousands we haven't gotten to either, but again, that would make sense if there's 48 states in the lower part of the United States times 1,000, right? It would be 40,000 or 48,000 right there. I'm saying each state 1,000 squatches.
Right.
Yeah, and that's not a lot of animals in one state,
No.
1,000.
Not at all. So that would mean there's like 700 up in northern New Jersey and 300 down here. Right?
A lot of interbreeding going on in those
There is.
300s.
We've heard about that with the Pineys and everything. You know, that's where the Jersey
why
Devil
they're
stories.
That's why they have 3 toes.
That's right.
That's down south. No,
That's down
we got
south.
5 toes. Yeah, right there. Well, that's 4, but I missed one. No, it's true. That's a pretty, I would think, reasonable estimate. You know, to put that number out there. And at first, it did sound higher to me. I have to be honest.
Yeah.
Well, because we tell stories from real researchers and real encounters, you have any other stories you want to tell us? Any other favorite ones?
Yeah, gosh, let's see, my wildest, scariest well, I'll tell you, I was I mentioned Kentucky a lot because I love Kentucky and I go there quite often. It's about the place that I like to go is anywhere between 6 to 9 hours of a drive from home, so it's a long way. And there's one place in particular that I like to go to, and I was there with a friend. It's been about 4, maybe 5 years ago, and all of a sudden we were sitting there. I don't remember if we did a knock. We may have done a knock, and all of a sudden it's like all of this activity started happening around us, just like boom, all of a sudden it just happened, and it got real intense for about 15 seconds, and then it just stopped. And we were surrounded. We had wood knocks on 3 sides of us. Wow. And so we were completely surrounded, and it was heavy laurel bushes, and it was so it was too thick to see what was doing the knocking, but they were within 30 yards of us.
Wow.
I mean, they were right on top of us, and
wow.
These knocks were so loud that it was startling me that they were so loud, and I was jumping up off my stool. And that was my most intense moment that I've had, other than my first moment. My first moment, I got growled at, I got screamed at, and that was what got me started in bigfooting. But actually out doing research, those 3 that were surrounding me, that was pretty intense.
Yeah, that's incredible.
30 yards. They came within 30 yards of me, and I didn't hear them coming in at all. You know, I'm sitting there listening for them and therming, and I had.
So
no
you think they came in?
close.
They came into you. You didn't walk into their group.
No, they came into me. They came in to investigate what was going on, and they had us surrounded on 3 sides. So they were triangulating us. So
how quick after you got there till they knocked?
We were there for about an hour. So we were sitting there for a long time before this happened.
So you're obviously we're looking for them while we're out there. So you're therming every once in a while. You're got your audio going and everything.
These things are forest ninjas. I'm telling you, these things are so quiet. They can sneak right up on you. And I don't know how they do it. I have no idea how they do it.
And how long ago was that?
Probably 5 years ago.
Okay. And so that was the 3 of them triangulating.
It was very close to where Nate had his eye shine.
Oh,
okay.
I bet it was probably 400 yards from that spot.
Wow.
All right.
Well,
at least I know exactly where you're at, man.
Yeah.
And then you mentioned getting growled at. When was that? And
oh God, that was my first experience ever. I'm a hunter. So a friend of mine and myself, we drove to the place that I go hunting. We pulled in. It was about 4 o'clock in the morning, and we pulled in off of the road, so the nose of the truck was in the woods. And we turned off the truck and turned off the lights, and we're like, all right, you ready? Let's do this. So we both opened the front doors, and we got out of the truck. And before we could open the back doors to get our gear to go in the woods, because we always get in about 4 o'clock and walk to our tree stands while it's still dark. And before we could open the back doors, something screamed at us from inside the woods. I'm guessing maybe 75 yards away, inside the woods, straight ahead in front of the truck. And this thing screamed so loud that I could feel it in my chest. Now, it wasn't a cat kind of scream. I know what mountain lions sound like, and I've actually seen two in the woods. Never heard one in the woods, but I know what a mountain lion scream sounds like, and it was not a cat scream. It was deeper, more guttural. This thing would have had to have a chest, I say the size of a whiskey barrel, to be able to make this much volume so that I could feel it in my own chest when it screamed. And so, of course, we panicked. We're like, what the hell is that? We got back in the truck, started up the truck, and let the headlights shine in front of us. We couldn't see anything because we're in the woods. But we waited till the sun came up. Then we went to our tree stands, but we never saw anything or heard anything. But that got me interested in, what was that? What did I just witness? I have no idea.
Right.
So I went home and I took some time and started doing some online research, and I stumbled across Monongahela's website, where he has a bunch of audio files on there for people to listen to. And I found one that sounded very similar to what I heard. And this guy, Monongahela, was saying that this is a Bigfoot. So I'm like, well, hell, I don't know. I don't know if I believe in Bigfoots or not. But I'm open-minded enough to, let me go out and do some research on my own and come to my own conclusion. I didn't know if I believed or not. So I started going out and doing some things on my own and trying to come up and get some activity and stuff. And I wasn't having any luck. I wouldn't go out by myself because I was a big chicken shit. So I wouldn't do that. But and getting your friends to go with you when you say, hey, let's go Bigfooting. Your friends don't want to go. So, are you crazy? What are you drinking? But eventually that I decided I need to find some like-minded people so that I can learn what I'm actually trying to do here. And so that's when I first attended a BFRO expedition. And that was why. And as it turned out, Monongahela and I became very close friends. And so we tend to stick together a lot on a bunch of these expeditions. And but it's funny that I stumbled across his website, and we live about an hour and a half apart. So
that's cool. And again, when was this roughly? Because that's
gosh, this
started.
was,
according to the book, it was 2004.
Okay, yeah, maybe.
Okay.
You just told the story at the beginning of your book.
I did put that story in the book. Yes.
Yep.
And so my first BFRO expedition was 2012.
Okay.
So that was 10 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, that's how most of us get into it, by some type of experience. I just got online and I was like, I couldn't believe there was reports from New Jersey, so that blew me away and got me outdoors. But I was going to say, when you mentioned that the East Coast Expeditions is a private Facebook group and it's fairly well isolated. I mean, back in the day, I remember being on Yahoo Messenger with other researchers,
Right.
Yeah,
talking back and forth and getting ideas and correlations, between what we were experiencing in our areas, and that was kind of cool, talking with researchers in different parts of the country and in Canada, before Facebook was around. So, hey, just another way we started out, right? I would go out on solo hikes during the day, and that's when I got growled at 5 times during the day. But at night, I'm like you. I don't like to be alone,
Yeah. I'll day hike by myself anytime, but I have gone out by myself at night, but it's risky, even if it's not a Bigfoot or a bear, there's people out there. Yeah, exactly. So I prefer not.
I do worry about the people a lot more than I worry about the animals.
Yeah. We have a lot of meth heads around here, so you don't know where you're going to stumble across those.
True.
Yeah.
Well, and that's what I've always said too. I'm more concerned with the individuals I might encounter out in the forest than I am worried about running into a Bigfoot. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I've been pretty fortunate up till now. That I've encountered only nice folks, and so far, with the Bigfoots, they've been pretty good. It's just the one growled at me. you know.
No, I had a couple growl at me. Actually they all growl at me. Why is that?
Well, you're a big guy. I'm less threatening
Yeah.
than you, you know.
It could be.
And I tend to sing nice, pleasant songs while I'm hiking along, you know? Sending out inviting thoughts. Is that something that you have incorporated onto some of your techniques? Is putting
Recently,
out
just recently,
Just
yeah,
recently?
just recently. I've a couple of times I've gone out with small groups of people, and
Mhm.
I'm like, okay, guys, we're going to sit down and we're going to just be quiet and we're going to close our eyes and we're just going to think happy thoughts for 5 minutes,
Right.
just for 5 minutes, and see what
Sure.
happens. And it's not come to anything yet, but you know, it may. You know, I'm
Yeah.
trying some new things. I've also recently picked up another piece of electronics that I'm carrying with me. It's a little square device that makes a tone, and it's nothing but infrasound. It actually sends out an infrasound tone. It's called
Okay.
earth tone.
Mhm.
It's like 7.83 hertz or something like that. So
Yep,
it
yep,
is
yep.
below 20 hertz. And the little thing is rechargeable, and the battery in the thing will last for like 300 days.
Wow.
And so I've been turning it on and putting it in my backpack and taking it with me when I go night hiking, just to see, and maybe it drums up something. I mean, if they can
Yeah.
produce infrasound, then obviously they can hear it too. So maybe
Right.
it'll drive them batty and they just want to express that. I don't know. Something
Yeah.
different.
As long as they don't come rip it off your back, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So you've had rocks thrown at you. You've been growled at. You've seen eye shine, where it projected its light at you. Have you had any visual
I have
sightings?
not. I have not. Now, I did capture something on a thermal one night,
Mhm.
but I actually wasn't holding the thermal when it captured it, and
Mm.
it wasn't a daytime encounter either. So I have not had a Class A sighting. My thermal hit was in Uwharrie, North Carolina,
Mhm.
and it was in the same campground that
Mike
Green
Green, yeah.
Green
Mhm.
captured his squeaky thermal footage, and I was about 5 campsites down from his whenever I captured something. I took a cookie and I put peanut butter on it and I sprinkled it with sugar and I laid it flat on the corner of a picnic table at an empty campsite across from mine.
No kidding.
And I put a thermal on my picnic table and I draped a trash bag
Trash
over
bag
top
over
of
it,
it,
right? Yeah.
and I let it record all night long.
Hmm.
And it was about 4:15 in the morning. Something came in. Actually, before it came in, about 4 o'clock in the morning, my thermal died. My
Mhm.
image was nothing but a black image. There was nothing but just a black image. Nothing was there
Mm.
for about 10 minutes.
Wow.
And then a couple of minutes before this thing showed itself, it came back on. So my thermal's
Wow.
never done that before, had never done it since.
Curse of the
Yeah.
Sasquatch, you know?
Yeah, it's it's that one thing. It's like the only time they ever do it is when there's a possible Bigfoot nearby. And so this thing popped its head up. It came in real low to the ground, apparently, under this little hill, and it was about 10 foot from the picnic table. It came in real low to the ground and it lifted its head up. And you can see
Wow.
on the thermal, you can see it turning its head. It looks at the cookie and it looks up the hill towards the other campers, and then it looks straight ahead at my camera. And
Wow.
then you can see that I feel like it's reasoning. Like
Yeah.
this thing is thinking through, like, something's up. This is too
Yeah.
easy.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
so it ducked, turned itself, and went back the way it came. And
Wow.
so when it ducked down and turned, you could see its shoulder as it ducked and turned. So you could see its head and its shoulder as it ducked and turned. And so we recreated it. This thing's head was twice the size of my head.
No
We
kidding.
recreated it.
And
Yeah.
this was
So
in Uwharrie.
this is in
Mhm.
Uwharrie. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it had to have been either a Bigfoot or a bear. Now I went to the website of the forestry department,
Mhm.
and if you look at their map, they say that it's their map of where bear live in the state. There's bear to the east and there's bear to the west, but this whole area right down the middle of the state like this, they say there's no bear in there. Well, Uwharrie is right in the dead center of that area.
And they're saying it was a bear.
Yeah, I'm not saying it was a bear. I'm not saying it was a Bigfoot. So I don't know. But if it were a bear would have said, "Oh, a cookie."
Yeah.
So,
Right.
so whatever this thing was, it hit every campsite from the top one up where Mike Green captured his squeaky footage down to this campsite where I had the cookie. Everybody had stuff like apples, a can of Spam, all this stuff. Everybody had stuff sitting out through the night, and it hit every one of those sites. It ate 5 apples, a can of Spam, and all that before it got down to my dessert. It didn't want dessert, so
it was full.
maybe it was full. Yeah.
Oh,
So,
man.
Hey, he didn't like the camera looking at him. That's what it does.
Didn't want to be watched.
And it's funny, I don't know if it was on East Coast Expeditions or where it was I recently saw, but a guy was doing a recreation of Mike Green's thermal footage, right? And he was wondering why the angle looked different. And he was at campsite number 10, but then he realized afterwards, after going back and reading the book, that Mike actually had it at campsite 11, right?
Yeah. So he was this direction and not this. I mean, the stump is, we knew exactly where the stump was. The stump is no longer there. The stump has rotted. And so we know where the stump was, but we didn't know which angle that he was filming of the stump. So that was the hard part. Yes, I was there on that weekend.
Okay.
Yeah,
I remember reading it somewhere.
What was going on. Yeah.
So that's neat. That footage was really one of the first thermal, right?
It's the best. It's
And
the best.
It's like
It's
the Patterson
best
Gimlin
thermal
film.
footage.
It's the
It
first
is.
and the best, you know?
I don't think that you could ever say that it's not a Bigfoot. I mean, looking at it and knowing that knowing what I know about thermals and knowing that how difficult it can be to trick a thermal camera. I mean, clothing. This thing, you could tell that it was not wearing clothing. There's no seams. If there's a zipper, you can see where a zipper is on through a thermal. So unless it was a complete suit that he's had on for a long time and was able to heat up the entire suit, and the zipper's in the back, So I don't know. I don't know how you could have faked this.
And speaking of thermal footage, right, Nathan, I was up visiting Brian over, I guess, December of last year, and it was cold. It was like 15 degrees out. He and I had gone out. It was around midnight to a spot where we've had some activity in the past. And we were checking out tracks from a turkey and a bobcat that looked like they had a scuffle up on the ground. Okay?
That's right. Yeah.
And he and I were both looking down, and I heard something come up on us, rush us. Okay. And I looked up, I said, "Oh, it's coming." Right. And we both had therms, lifted them up to our eyes. We didn't see anything. We scanned quickly. And, I was literally shaking from the fear of something running. It sounded like it was coming up on us quick, and there was nothing there. But you could hear, after we both scanned, you could hear footfalls of something walking away. And I mean, I even looked up in the trees, with the binocular. After reviewing the images, though, later on, I captured something.
Oh, yeah.
You've seen the picture. Remember, we played it in season 1, the picture from...
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can see a full shape of something up on the hill, not far away, actually. I mean, and it's crazy. Like, he and I both did not see anything. We both heard something, but we didn't see anything at the time. But then reviewing the footage later, you could clearly make out in a couple of pictures, because I just started snapping pictures, you know what I mean? I didn't run video of what looks like a uniform shape of, you could see the hand, you know what I mean? Like
that's right, because the one the hands around.
Yeah. It's really neat, but I mean, we didn't see it at the time, and that again kind of borders on the paranormal parallels, as we call it,
Right, because you had the footfalls, but you never saw anything.
Right. But I definitely felt the fear.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, nothing. So, hey, you never know, right? It's a matter of being in the right place at the right time. And we're the ones who are going out there actually doing it and getting our boots on the ground and having the activity, to talk about later. So
that's what it takes.
Definitely. Yeah. So what's your plans for the near future?
Well, I've got a few expeditions lined up that I will be at. I'm going to be in Western Kentucky this fall. I'll be presenting at the KBRO expedition this fall. Let's see. I'll probably do a Southwest Virginia expedition this fall. I'm thinking about having another ECE expedition down there. And I think that Larry Sidwell may be hosting another West Virginia expedition, kind of Eastern West Virginia. So
Okay.
we'll see if that pans
Awesome.
out or not. But
Do you find
Yeah.
your activity is higher in the fall than it is in the spring?
I typically don't squatch in the summer.
Mhm.
I don't like snakes and I don't like ticks. So I usually go fall, winter, and spring, and I don't usually do much in the summer. But
Mhm.
it's kind of backwards from what a lot of my researcher friends do. A lot of them don't want to go in the winter, and they prefer to go in the summer. But
I prefer
I,
spring and fall. Yeah.
yeah, well, I don't tent camp. I have a small trailer that I take with me, and so I don't care how cold it gets. If it gets cold in there, I just turn on the heat.
Nice. Definitely. Well, that makes a difference for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
Well, hey, that's awesome, man. And I don't know. I appreciate you sharing all these experiences with us tonight and our
Definitely.
viewers. And Nathan, I think was a great choice. Thank you for thinking
Oh.
of Charles.
Thank you guys. I appreciate the invite. I've been looking forward to this, and I appreciate you guys having me on.
Yeah, well, you do a lot for us, so
Yeah, man.
we appreciate that. And
Thanks, guys.
And I wanted to have an opportunity to again plug your book, Squatching 101, and the Kimbrough audio is if you're a researcher, you know what I always say. Number one piece of gear to take out with you when you're going out to do the research is a digital recorder.
Yeah.
So if you want to really step it up a bit and get some of Charles's microphones, that'll really pick up the game a bit and the gain.
Yeah.
But we've had a lot of fun tonight, and I want to thank you again for being our first guest on season 2. And if you're viewing on one of the podcast platforms, remember to give us a follow. And if you're watching on YouTube, a like and a share. And Nathan, subscribe. We got it. First try on season 2. Awesome. So Charles, thanks again.
Yeah, thanks a lot for coming.
Thanks, guys.
You have enough stories. I'm sure you can come on again.
Absolutely.
I do have a few.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
And hopefully we'll make a few more together.
Yeah,
That's right.
absolutely. We will.
Absolutely. And Nathan, what do you say?
Thanks for squatching.
Thanks for checking out this episode of Squatch Talks Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe, follow, and give us a like. And stay tuned for more exciting stories on Squatch Talks.